Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajakacharya Astotarasata Shishimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinatha Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today we're reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, written by His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami. We'll be completing the 9th chapter today. 9th chapter is A Resident of Vrindavan. Last week we heard that Srila Prabhupada had finally made the decision that it was time for him to take sannyas. If he wanted to accomplish his mission that had been given to him by his spiritual master, he had to become a sannyasi, which meant to others that he had fully dedicated himself to preaching Krishna consciousness. Already internally he was fully dedicated, but on account of social etiquette and acceptance externally, sannyas was required, just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also took sannyas in order to preach. So first Prabhupada approached the head of the Chaitanya Mat, who was Tirtha Maharaj, and Tirtha Maharaj insisted that he first join the Gaudiya Mat, the Chaitanya Mat, become a member, and in due course of time they would see whether they would award him sannyas, whether they would print his books after printing many other important shastras, and possibly sending him to the Western countries. But everything was delayed and postponed if we were to take shelter under Tirtha Maharaj. Abai next turned to Keshav Maharaj in Mathura, and Keshav Maharaj told Abai to take sannyas immediately. After corresponding with Tirtha Maharaj, Abai had felt some uncertainty about accepting sannyas, and now that he was being encouraged so strongly, he resisted. But Keshav Maharaj was insistent. Now, Keshav Maharaj at the time was in Mayapur when Srila Prabhupada went to, because we know he was staying here at the Bansi Gopal temple, but he had very close relations with the devotees who were serving there at the Keshav Gaudiya Mat in Mathura. So, not only from here did he have relations, but they stayed with Prabhupada at his home. He gave them 4 rooms above his laboratory. They stayed there at Sita Banerjee Lane. And even when he was in Prayag, they would come to visit Srila Prabhupada. So this was a very long-standing friendship and relationship that the devotees had together, God brothers. Keshav Maharaj, Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Bara Swami. There were other sannyasis also who took part in, because the Chaitanya Mat now being separated from some of these sannyasis, Keshav Maharaj, along with Srila Prabhupada, they established the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. So Keshav Maharaj had a mat in Mayapur, and he left the mat in Mathura under the care of his disciple Narayan Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj had taken sannyas in 1947. So he got initiated in 1947, and he took sannyas in 1952. So he was very, very encouraging to Srila Prabhupada that you must take sannyas. And he wrote to Keshav Maharaj in Mayapur that because they all had the highest respect for Srila Prabhupada, Keshav Maharaj told his disciples that Prabhupada was a genius and he would be able to carry out this mission. So all of Keshav Maharaj's disciples had such high respect for Prabhupada, although he was still in Grihastha Vesh. So when Keshav Maharaj came back to Mathura, he and Abhay Babu, that's Srila Prabhupada, they discussed the matter together. And Keshav Maharaj was encouraging him like anything, that now is the time for you to take sannyas if you want to carry out your mission. And Prabhupada was very honestly speaking to him that I don't know if I have the strength to do this all alone. And Keshav Maharaj preached to him that whatever strength you have, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will give you that strength and give you the inspiration to carry out his mission. You simply have to take that step of accepting sannyas. So along with Prabhupada, there was another godbrother of theirs who he had known since the very beginning of his association with the Gaudiya Math. His name was Sanatan Das. He was much older than Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was 50, it was in 1959, so 59 plus 4, he was 63 at the time. Sanatan Das was already in his 90s, and he hadn't taken sannyas yet. And Prabhupada was very close with their family. In fact, when his daughter, Sanatan's daughter, had their first baby, son, because Prabhupada was so much respected amongst his godbrothers, they asked him to do the Annaprashan. So he would go to their house and he treated Sanatan's family, children just like his own children. Very loving family relationships amongst the godbrothers and their families growing up together. So Sanatan told him, if you take sannyas, then I'll also take sannyas. So they agreed together to take the sannyas ashram from their godbrother, Keshav Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada. I was sitting alone in Vrindavan writing. My godbrother insisted to me, Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, you must do it. Without accepting the renounced order of life, nobody can become a preacher. So he insisted. Not he insisted, practically, my spiritual master insisted. He wanted me to become a preacher. So he forced me through this godbrother. You accept. So unwillingly, I accepted. Now this unwillingly comes from Prabhupada's deep sense of humility. He had left his family, and Keshav Maharaj used to preach to him that you're going here and there all alone, trying to maintain your family. They're not even favorable. Why don't you join us? Take up this preaching work full time. But Prabhupada, due to his sense of duty and responsibility, it took him up until the last possible, always he was trying to make his family Krishna conscious. And it was when it became completely impossible, and he saw that his wife and his children had no interest in what he was doing. They mentioned that his sons used to wear pants. Prabhupada would wear a dhoti and his sons would wear pants. They would be upstairs while he would have his programs downstairs of giving lectures. They just weren't interested. So then Prabhupada finally, he realized, yes, this is the step I have to take. And he was still staying at the Bansi Gopal temple at that time. He had not yet moved to Radha Damodar. Keshavji Gaudiya Math was located in the midst of one of Mathura's downtown bazaars. Its main entrance, an arched doorway, led into a courtyard, open to the sky through a metal grating above. The architecture was similar to that of the Bansi Gopalji temple. The atmosphere was secluded, as in a monastery. So it just so happens today, the devotees who stay, the bhaktas who stay at Govinda Nivas and Dharmatma Prabhu, they wanted to see the place of pastime of Kuvalayapida. And there at the Rangeshwar temple, it's 10 seconds away from the Gaudiya Mat, the Keshav Gaudiya Mat. So first we went to the Keshav Gaudiya Mat to take the blessings of Sri Sri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who Srila Prabhupada personally installed there. When he was in Jhansi, he got the murti in Bengal, of course, because it's a Nim, Mahaprabhu. One arm is up, one arm is down. And can you put the camera onto the screen? Last year, unfortunately, when Narayan Maharaj entered Samadhi, of course there's always problems of succession whenever the Acharya leaves. And there was a slight breaking up there, and there were decisions being made that were in agreement to one side but not in agreement to the other side. So one of those decisions that was made was that the temple, the Keshav Gaudiya Mat, it was a very beautiful temple with 9 shikars. This is the way the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati designed the temples. You'll see all the Gaudiya Mat temples have these beautiful shikars on top. But this temple, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had never visited. It was established after he left by Keshav Maharaj. And what happened was, there was a dharmshala there on the main road of Mathura, just near Holy Gate at Tilak Dwar. You can just walk there very easily. And that dharmshala was donated to Keshav Maharaj. It was a very old dharmshala. And they built the temple on top of the dharmshala. So the dharmshala, being very old as the foundation, was beginning to fall apart. And therefore, one of the factions, after Narayan Maharaj left, was they decided that they would demolish the temple and raise the funds to build a new temple. And the other faction didn't agree with it, so they split up. So, and many of the devotees were very upset, but they couldn't understand. Sometimes, just like we have in our Gurukula, many of us we were very upset. But when you call the engineers in and you call the professionals in and you hear that, do you want to take the risk of the ceiling falling on the devotee's head and then the devotee's dying? If the engineers say that something is dangerous, do you want to take the risk to not break the building down, and then it's your fault if the devotees die? So therefore, sometimes we have to listen to the professionals, although it breaks our heart. It's like losing a friend when you see a building that you've been serving in for so many years being broken down. So they broke down the building, and when we arrived there today, there was a disciple of, because they have their parampara, after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they had Vaman Maharaj. After Vaman Maharaj, there was Narayan Maharaj. And now, after Narayan Maharaj, there's several of his disciples. So one of his disciples, Madhav Maharaj, one of his disciples was overlooking the construction. So I asked him, "Where's Radha Vinod Bihari? Where's Mahaprabhu?" Because the whole place was just a big construction site. We'll see the sign. So he very kindly showed us, just in a little gully on the side, they had moved the whole altar there. You can go to the first one. Yes. So this is Radha Vinod Bihari.